All right, today we're stepping into the gym to settle one of the biggest, most heated debates in all of lifting. We're talking about range of motion, and let me tell you, there's a revolution happening in how we think about building muscle. So let's just dive right in. You've been there, right? You're in the gym and you're wondering, to get the absolute best results, should I be doing those full, deep, textbook reps? Or is there something to those partial reps? It's a question that can start a full-blown argument in pretty much any weight room on the planet. And you know the two camps. On one side, you've got the purists, right? They swear by a full range of motion, or full ROM. They'll tell you it's the only way to get quality reps and build a truly complete physique. But then, on the other side, you've got the heavy lifters, using a partial range of motion to move way more weight, because they believe that heavier load is the real key to growth. For decades, these two ideas have been battling it out. So in this explainer, we're going to settle it. We'll start with that great gym debate and what the early science said. Then, and this is the fun part, we'll introduce a new kind of partial rep that changes the entire game. We'll get into the incredible science of the stretch, put the best methods head-to-head, and finally show you exactly how to build the perfect rep for your goals. Let's do this. Okay, first up, let's really set the stage. The classic showdown that has dominated how we think about training for years and years. Full reps versus partials. I mean, for most of us, we heard this on day one, right? You take every single rep through its complete full range of motion. Anything less wasn't just, a little bit worse. It was straight up called ego lifting. You were just cheating the movement to slap more plates on the bar. And honestly, this has been the go-to advice from trainers forever. And look, it wasn't for nothing. For a long time, the scientific research gave us a very, very clear winner. Let's take a look at what the early evidence actually told us. The science really seemed to back this up, no question. A huge meta-analysis back in 2021, where scientists basically combined the results of a bunch of studies, found that full range of motion training led to way bigger gains in both muscle strength and lower body growth compared to partials. All the evidence was piling up, and it was all pointing in one direction. And this quote from a 2012 study nails the thinking at the time. They looked at bicep training and found that, yeah, both methods built muscle, but for getting stronger, full range of motion was the clear winner. With studies and conclusions like this, it felt like the case was closed. Full ROM was king. End of story. Or so we thought. But here is where the entire story takes a fascinating twist. The science started to ask a smarter question, suggesting that maybe that old debate was just too simple. It turns out not all partial reps are created equal. What if the real secret to growing muscle wasn't about the total distance the bar traveled? What if it was about which part of that movement you were actually training in? I mean, this one question completely changed everything and opened up a whole new way of looking at our reps. And this brings us to a new idea, lengthened partials. So picture a bicep curl. Instead of going all the way up and down, a lengthened partial is when you only do the bottom half. You go from a straight, fully extended arm up to about 90 degrees and then back down. You're spending all your time and effort in that part of the movement where the muscle is most stretched out under tension. And on the flip side, you've got shortened partials. Using that same bicep curl, this would be doing only the top half of the movement, from that 90-degree angle all the way up to that fully flexed, squeezed position. Now, this is probably what you picture when you hear partial rep, right? That classic cheater rep that avoids the hardest part at the bottom. And believe me, this distinction is everything. So why does this matter so much? Well, it turns out that training a muscle when it's in that deep, stretched position might just be one of the most powerful triggers for muscle growth we've ever found. Let's dig into the science. The key idea here has a fancy name, stretch-mediated hypertrophy. But don't let the name scare you. It's a simple but incredibly powerful idea. When you put a ton of tension on a muscle while it's being stretched, you send an unbelievably strong signal for it to grow. It's not just about lifting a weight, it's about stretching the muscle under that weight. And here's basically how it works. When that muscle is stretched with a heavy load on it, that tension triggers a massive muscle-building signal. That signal then kicks off this process where your body actually creates new sarcomeres. And those are the tiny little engines, the building blocks of your muscle fibers. To make this idea really click, think of your muscle fiber like a chain. What's happening here is like you're adding brand new links to the end of that chain. This doesn't just make the muscle fiber itself longer, it seems to be a key driver for making the whole muscle bigger. You are literally building longer, more powerful muscle fibers from the ground up. Pretty cool, right? So this brings us to the main event.
Now that we know about the crazy power of the stretch, how does this new kid on the block, the lengthened partial, stack up against the long reigning champion, full range of motion? And this is where everything we thought we knew gets flipped upside down. What you're looking at here is a visual of some game-changing new research. Multiple studies from just 2023 and 2024 have put these methods head-to-head, and the results are absolutely stunning. Full ROM and lengthened partials produce nearly identical massive muscle growth, and the old-school shortened partials, way, way behind. Not even close. So the takeaway is crystal clear. The magic isn't in the full rep itself. The magic is in the stretch that a full rep gives you. A full rep works so well because it includes that deep, loaded stretch at the bottom. But get this, a lengthened partial, which only focuses on that stretched part, can give you the exact same muscle-building results. The stretch is the secret ingredient. Okay, so that's the science. Awesome. But now for the big question. What in the world does this mean for your next workout? Let's take this out of the lab and onto the gym floor and figure out how to actually put this to work. This right here gives us a super simple, powerful way to think about it. If your main goal is just overall strength and being functionally strong, for life, full ROM is still your gold standard. It teaches your body to be strong through that whole movement. But if your goal is pure muscle size, maximum hypertrophy, the new evidence says lengthened partials are just as good, and maybe even a more direct way to get there. And those shortened partials, they still have a job. They are fantastic for hammering a specific part of a lift to bust through a plateau. All right, so let's wrap this up with the key things you got to remember. Number 1, full ROM is still awesome, especially for building that all-around strength. 2, the single biggest factor for muscle growth seems to be training a muscle when it's stretched out under tension. 3, because of that, lengthened partials are just as effective as full ROM for getting bigger. And 4, for just building muscle, you probably don't need to waste your time on those top half shortened partials.
And so that leaves us with one final question for you to take into your next session. We now know that the loaded stretch is the secret sauce for muscle growth. So, what are you going to do with that knowledge? Are you going to add some lengthened partials at the end of your sets? Are you going to focus more on that bottom half of your reps? The power to build your perfect rep is now in your hands.
Hey, if this breakdown was useful and just gave you a new weapon to put in your training toolbox, do us a huge favor and hit that like button. And of course, make sure you subscribe for more deep dives into the science that'll help you get the best results possible. Thanks for watching.